We began the show today by asking a question right off the top about a game called Fortnite. If you don't know it is a video game, very, very popular worldwide. But right now, 3 Quebec parents have decided, it's too popular. In fact, it's become popular, according to them, by virtue of the fact that it is designed to be addictive for the children, the kids who play it. So when we asked the question, I'll be honest, there were not a lot of people out here saying, yeah, that's probably something to look into. Most were saying parents should be the one taking on the responsibility of monitoring their kids when they play these games and understanding how they work and setting limits because those limits are available. But others suggest that, you know what, wait a sec. If the people who design these games are purposely designing them to be addictive, then yes, that is worth looking into. So we want to get a kind of take on this from a couple of different ways. ANITA GHADIA-SMITH is a psychotherapist specializing in addictions. Jeff DEREVENSKY is a McGill University psychologist and director of the International Center for Youth Gambling Problems. They're both on the line. Anita, let's start with you. I told you what our callers thought, which was the fact that this seems kind of silly. But what is the situation? So you're a psychotherapist specializing in addictions. Does this seem an addictive game to you?
Yes, very much so. This as well as many other electronic games, has become increasingly addictive for young people. During the pandemic, so many people were trapped at home, not going out to school, not socializing with their friends, and the usage has really escalated tremendously. There's a brain chemical called dopamine that is released, actually similar to cocaine addiction and shopping, other types of gambling. And this dopamine drip feeds on itself, and people just want more and more. And so when you're devoid of normal human connection and interaction and having so much isolation, kids are going to look for connection any way they can get it because they need it to be healthy. But this can really take on a life of its own and also delay a lot of normal social development, speech, language, facial recognition. It can really alter the formation of the brain and other types of important development.
It certainly is troubling that these games seem to be designed specifically to do this. And with Fortnite's case, kids get addicted. A Quebec judge has deemed that there's enough evidence here to move forward with a class action suit. However, I have to say the major question that comes up is, isn't it up to parents to limit the amount of time that kids spend playing video games? Now, the argument throughout the pandemic, I get, it was kind of an all bets are off period. But once we kind of get back to a normal routine, isn't it up to the parents then to put the real rules in place and limit the screen time?
Absolutely. It's up to the parents. They are in charge of their kids, and their parents often have a difficult time setting limits, but it's the most important thing that they do as parents because the kids internalize limits that are set by their parents, and then it hopefully can set their own limits for themselves at some point and become healthy, functioning adults. So it's harder for parents who are working. Sometimes they want to kind of occupy their kids with something because they're busy or have things to do, but the parents do need to make time to do portion control with their kids' schedules and to really keep an eye on things and make sure that they're not overdoing it.
So my question is this, though. You said your opinion is that this is addictive and addictive by design, but if we're talking Fortnite, you would say the same for any video game like this? They would all be the same?
Many are, and it partly depends on the person and their own issues and predispositions, but even smartphones, which almost everyone has, were designed to keep people coming back to them all the time and get this dopamine drip. So, adults deal with this too. Everyone's dealing with it now, and I don't think the addictiveness is limited just to this game. I think it's a much larger issue that has been addressed in some other media and documentaries about the development of smartphones.
I'd like to bring Jeff in on this conversation, Jeff DEREVENSKY, and with regards to, sort of we got into maybe bad habits throughout the pandemic and maybe, trying to over-accommodate our children because it was such a difficult time. Once kids have gotten addicted, is it near impossible to try and sort of reel them back in, Jeff? How does that work?
No, I think you can actually do that. Whether or not these games are addictive, I agree with Anita in the sense that there are a whole lot of games that are potentially addictive. What's really problematic here is not just setting limits by parents, and by the way, that's what the gaming industry relies on. They're saying it's not our problem, it's the parents' problem. But it's not just setting the limits, it's adhering to those limits, making sure that children will actually adhere to those limits. And that becomes really difficult for many parents to do because they're busy, they're working, they're trying to run a household while their children are being occupied by these games. The class action lawsuit basically is looking at a couple of things. One, the addictive nature of the game. But more importantly than that, they're looking at the money that kids are spending while they're playing the game. And so these are often referred to as loot boxes, where you pay actual money and you play these loot boxes with the hopes of getting something that will enhance your game. Mm-hmm. And many people have actually made the argument, and I've made the argument, that in some ways it's very similar to gambling. And a number of jurisdictions have now prohibited these loot boxes from being included in the game. There's big legislation now looking at it in Australia. Belgium has actually mandated that they be removed. But the industry doesn't want to remove them because it's such a big moneymaker. It's all about the revenue that's being generated. And getting a good game, the reference for a good game is for people who want to continuously play this game.
Right.
And I think it's also important to note that this is not just children playing these games, but adults as well.
I wonder as you describe this, and we took calls from people basically all sort of saying what you said as well, with the exception, of course, of this, what you call the loot box. If this suit was successful, because you'd have to be a fairly large umbrella, every other video game out there that offers the same sort of competitive landscape would be guilty as well. I mean, is that what we're looking at here, kind of killing off all video games that involve this kind of thing?
Well, I don't think we're killing off all the video games. I think there should be better warning labels on video games. I think it's really good that you're discussing this because I don't think parents understand the potential addictive nature of this. And by doing that, I think it's really, really important to raise awareness that these games can actually become addictive. I would also mention that there are other lawsuits that have been attempted, not necessarily against Fortnite, but other video games in the United States. So what's making this interesting is it's a Quebec judge who authorized a class action lawsuit against Epic Games.
All right, so if this, obviously it's been authorized to go ahead. What do you see? You mentioned just now there are other suits already in the U.S. Nothing that I know of has actually happened to force these manufacturers to change anything yet. What do you imagine will happen?
Well, I will tell you also that the Minister of Health in Canada is very interested in this topic. And so hopefully maybe some legislation, some pressure on gaming companies can be exerted.
Anita, go ahead. You had something to say as well.
Well, I see this opening the door to more and more and more litigation, as we see in so many other areas of society. It's going to be really hard to put a lid on this once the box is open.
Mm-hmm. We asked the question today, is it the game or is it the parents? But it seems to me that it's both.
It is
I would
both.
Agree, Natasha.
And
I think it's a combination. And I think there are certain youngsters who have difficulty setting limits for themselves. And most individuals who play the games have no difficulty setting limits. and maintaining those limits. But there's a certain group of people, an identifiable population of individuals, and some estimates go from anywhere between 3 and 15% who have difficulty with these games.
Well, we shall see where this goes. It's interesting. I will tell you, to Natasha's point, the callers that I'm going to be fair when I say this, an overwhelming majority pointed at parents. Mm-hmm. So we shall see where this goes. Thank you both. We appreciate your time today.
My pleasure. Have a good weekend.
Thank you very much.
ANITA GHADIA-SMITH and Jeff DEREVENSKY on this lawsuit, Quebec-only lawsuit for now, and against the game Fortnite. We'll see.